Cordia, I rise today in support of this motion, not because I agree with the proposers on everything, far from it, but because on this issue they are right. Budget 2026 has failed Irish families. It has failed mothers and fathers who are working every hour they can to just afford the privilege of placing their children in care, the care they need in order to work in the first place. It has failed the children who deserve nurturing and support, not waiting lists. And it has failed the promise made by this government to deliver childcare at €200 a month. That promise now lies in tatters. Let us be clear, some families are paying over €1,000 a month for childcare. This is not a support system. That is a penalty for having children, and in a country that claims to value family, it is a disgrace. We are told Ireland is one of the wealthiest nations in Europe. But if that is true, then how is it that Poland, a country with a lower GDP per capita, has just this week passed legislation to eliminate income tax for families with 2 or more children? Why is it that Hungary, with far fewer resources, offers generous maternity benefits, housing benefits and tax exemptions for families who choose to raise children? And yet we have the gall to turn to the world and present ourselves as a modern economic success story. Hard-working parents fret over each new pregnancy, thinking of how they'll manage with new mouths to feed, and we call ourselves a developed first world nation. It is a joke. These are nations that understand that families is not a lifestyle choice, it is a foundation of society, and they legislate accordingly. Ireland, by contrast, shortchanges parents, bypassing affordability and access, while pouring billions into unnecessary programmes such as a bloated NGO sector and an IPA system which has been described by the Irish Times as the Wild West of money making. We are told that Budget 2026 allocates €1.48 billion to early learning and childcare. But what good is that if the average parent still pays nearly €800 a month out of pocket? Now, I will add that Sinn Féin, who proposed this motion, are right to call out the government's failure, but I must also remind them and this House that it was Sinn Féin who supported the 2024 referenda that endangered the constitutional definition of family. Now, I do hope that this motion signals a change of heart in their party, as you can not claim to be pro-family while simultaneously undermining the very foundation of what family means in our constitution. This motion calls for childcare at €10 a day. That is reasonable, achievable goal. It calls for better pay and conditions for early years educator. This is long overdue, and it calls for rethinking of Budget 2026. That is essential. And I would go further. I would call for a more ambitious model of not just childcare, but of support to the family. A model that would include not only a stronger programme of public support and services, but also a tax cut for families, of loan to families, of greater subsidies that to all the essentials that families need. And for this, we need a total overhaul of our mindset as politicians and as a nation, and to put children first, not budget margins. We need a mindset that recognises that supporting families is not a cost, it is an investment in our future. So let's not pretend that this budget is progressive. It is not. It is a betrayal of promises that made and a failure of vision. And I, for one, will not stand by while Irish families are forced to choose between work and children, between rent and creche fees, between survival and dignity.